What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. Judging by the title, I don't want you guys to click off right away. Yes, I am going to be giving a little few reasons and backgrounds of why you should not become a trainer. Now, in terms of talking about a trainer, I'm talking about a fitness trainer. I'm going to be talking about a whole lot of stuff that may sound nice on paper, but when we're actually doing it, it seems a little different. Now, this isn't a demotivating video. This isn't me gonna try and say, oh, don't be a fitness trainer because you can't do it, or don't be this, don't shoot for your dreams because it's hard. No, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you basically why you shouldn't be a fitness trainer based on just the type of things that you may or may not like. Now, before we get into it, I do want to say that I just have, only about a year or so experience when it comes to this kind of stuff. But, talk to people before you even start to think about, certain career choices. Because if you want to be a fitness trainer, you do got to get certified. You do got to do some schooling for it. And if you're not willing to put in that time, if you're not willing to put in the effort, if you're not willing to put in the money, go around, talk to people. Figure out what you want to do, figure out why you want to train, figure out what kind of people you want to train, figure out what exactly you want to do, because you can't just have one mindset and say, I'm going to train, and that's what's going to happen. So without further ado, let's get into it. Reason number one I have is it's not for meatheads. And now I know people don't really like that term. Like, I get it. You're going to the gym, you look big, you look awesome, you're consistent, you're cool, you got your gym bros, all right? We get it. We see it. But when it comes down to like somebody who's an actual meathead, as in they really don't know anything that they're talking about, they just lift heavy weights and getting progress in the gym, and overall, they're not really doing anything with their lives. It's more about just the gym, go home, play video games, sleep. They're not really educated in anything. They didn't do well in school, but they were very active. Maybe like it's a football player or something like that. If this is your personality, like all you do is just, stay active, almost like a David Goggins sort of vibe, but, less motivating and more like, oh, I just want to do this because I want to look cool, but I can train you, I think so. That sort of mindset. It's definitely not for people who think they know everything. It's definitely not for people who think that they know because they're big, then everyone else can get big, because I'll explain it a little bit later, but you're not just going to be working with scrawny people the whole time. Sure, they may not have a lot of muscle, but, they have experience in other things. Maybe they're older and they've lifted weights in the past and they just kind of forgot how to get back into things. Maybe they've been doing other forms of fitness. Maybe they're not just overweight. Maybe they're not just skinny, and maybe they're not just looking to get big in the gym. And when it comes to like meatheads, typically that's the only thing they really care about, is just to get big, eat big, and then, yap about whatever they heard on YouTube Reels. Second reason I have, it is not for antisocial people. I am someone who is very antisocial, and throughout most of my work life, I have just been forced out of my shell and been able to, cooperate and be patient with others. My patience is very low. I like to tell people that that's like my weakness is my patience is very, very low. People piss me off very easily. Even the ones I love, even the ones who are close to me, I do not like approaching people. I don't like making new friends. I do not like large crowds, and I don't like going to functions or events that involve a lot of people I don't know. Only events that I necessarily really like to go to are ones that I know my friends are going to be at, and even at that, if I'm not going to see them a lot, I'm not going to want to be there. But when it comes to work, I got to make money somehow. I have to kind of deal with it. I can't tell my boss or like the person who I'm sitting with in an interview that I don't like people. You can't just say that to somebody, because you're not going to get the job, and also you're not going to make yourself look good, because the entire point of an interview isn't to lie, but it's also not to hurt yourself. It's good to be honest, but you don't want to tell them that you're impatient, you hate people, and the last thing you want to do is deal with them, especially when you're working as a trainer. It is sort of a customer service position. We're talking about fitness. Yeah, we're talking about your body and anatomy and, writing workout plans, but at the same time, you don't just go into it. You gotta sit down with the person. You gotta talk to them. You gotta meet them. They gotta understand who you are, because maybe they want to try training with you, but maybe they don't even know what kind of person you are. And I'll tell you that some of the clients that I have, they don't catch on as quick as others, and that's totally okay. And you're not supposed to just, catch on to this sort of a thing, especially when we're talking about older people. Most of my clients are way older than me, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I am just a younger person who decided to pursue this career at this time. Tons of people who have more experience than me, in not only just the personal training field, but in life in general, they know. But if they don't catch on to this, especially in this new era of lifting, since becoming sort of an influencer and just going to the gym in general is kind of sort of becoming a trend at this point. People aren't necessarily taking it seriously because more people are doing it, which is good for business in general because, gyms are going to get more people joining, and whether they go or not, they're making money, let alone just the gym community is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And now this isn't necessarily a good or bad thing, but somebody's doing something with their life. Whether they're saying they go to the gym or going to the gym, it doesn't matter. If you're someone like me who is very antisocial and your end goal is to make money by, doing fitness training, I would not want to pursue this. It took me a lot of like convincing myself that do I really want to do this because I don't like people. In the past, I've been at jobs not related to the gym, and I've just wanted to blow up and crash out on people, and I just wanted to remind myself, could I do it? Throughout my working life, I have just thought like I would rather meet new people, come out of my shell more than deal with people who treat me as nothing but a number, and just deal with like managers and bosses that don't even care about me and they just want me to show up for a shift. Typically my jobs that I've worked in the past, I'm mostly just a number and a person who shows up. I got paid well, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really worth it for my mental health. So coming out of your shell, if you're a very antisocial person and you love fitness, definitely try and get out more. Try and talk to people. Not just people who are at the gym, just people in general. And, if they have curious questions, be real with them. If you don't know the answer, tell them you don't know and do some research and tell them you can get back to them. You don't want to just start off a relationship lying because you're too scared or too shy to approach them. Reason number 3 is kind of falls into the antisocial aspect, but you're dealing with a lot of people. Now, I do personally do one-on-ones when it comes to any type of personal training. I'm not much of a studio or class teacher. I might want to start doing that a little bit more if I really wanted to, but I am not the type of guy or have the energy, let alone the motivation, to just sit in front of like a group of people of all ages and all genders and say, let's do it, guys, let's get it. Whether we're just on a bike, we're doing some stepping exercises, yoga, or even just some natural like stretching or jumping jacks type hyperactive workouts, I could not be sitting with a microphone and some music in the background, hyping up everybody and trying to get a good workout in. When you're dealing with lots of people, it can be a lot more stressful when it's one-on-one, because sure, everyone can have different thoughts of you. Everyone's going to be staring at you in a studio when you're the teacher and there's a whole class. But when you think about it, there's going to be the good students, there's going to be the bad students, and there's going to be the people who don't even really care and they just really want to be there. So whether you're a good teacher or not, they just want a reason to go. The people who actually care about your teaching and, care about you and want to get to know you will talk to you and, speak up. And the people who just show up are just going to show up. And when it comes to one-on-one, I can feel more connected with the person. But as you build a clientele, you're going to have a lot of people coming to you asking you questions, and you're going to get a little bit repetitive. I have kind of caught myself off saying a lot of the same things, and it does, again, fall into my low patience so that it gets kind of annoying. But at the same time, these people have probably never heard this information before, especially coming from me. Not that I'm special, but that every person is different. If someone is giving you false information, they're just straight up giving you false information. But when everybody talks about like a card hold fact, for example, like when they're talking about what is a calorie deficit, everyone's going to explain it a little differently. People are going to have different mindsets, and especially when it comes to your attitude, you can't just say calorie deficit and expect them to know. And you also can't just mention it as if it's something they need to start doing right this second. You really got to have a good attitude when it comes to talking to multiple people and sort of repeating yourself and saying the multiple things and kind of switching up how you say it, because again, some people don't catch on as fast. If you need to reiterate yourself or just, kind of explain yourself in a different format, you're going to have to repeat yourself a lot. You're going to have to catch yourself on a lot of different things. And overall, the amount of people that you will probably work with, you will catch yourself saying a lot of the same things. But you also got to, again, be patient with yourself, because saying these things are going to be annoying in your head, but to these people, it's very helpful. To your clients, it is going to be very helpful. Just because you said it to the first person doesn't mean it's going to catch on. Just because it's a very popular trend on the internet doesn't mean everyone's going to understand it or catch on. You know, everybody is not living the same life you are. So when you're dealing with a lot of people, you do have to keep in mind that everyone's going to have a different personality. Some people are going to be really hyperactive to see you. Some people are going to just want to come in and do what they want to do. Some people are going to want to have an ongoing relationship with you, you know, build sort of a rapport with you, build sort of almost a friendship with you. Some are literally just going to come in, do their workout with you, and if they get tired of your personality and tired of you, they're just going to drop you. And that's unfortunately the world you're going to have to live in when you're a trainer, is that people are just going to treat you as this sort of a tool. And you know, and that's okay, because you're offering your education, your skills, your knowledge, and you're here to help them. So you got to have a good attitude, and if you don't have a good attitude, then most likely everybody is going to drop you. And it is a hard feeling, and it is a hard to swallow pill, but at the same time, you really got to be patient with people, and you really got to just suck it up if someone doesn't want to work with you. Fourth reason, you actually have to know about the body. And this, again, a lot of these topics are like side plots, just fall into other ones, but I'm going to be emphasizing more on this one. Knowing about the body, yeah, I am kind of talking about like meatheads or people who aren't as educated. When it comes down to actually getting certified, the bar is pretty low. All you really have to do is pass a test that's online that you most likely paid for. They can be cheap, they can be expensive. It depends on what kind of organization you go through. I went through NASM, and with NASM, there were 2 tests that I could have taken. I could have taken one where I could have no notes. I was being recorded the whole time with somebody on the other end, like a Zoom call, and they would be able to hear me, see me, watch me, what I'm doing. And at the same time, I would have to be focusing on a test that is timed. Not only are there like 100+ questions, I have to be locked the fuck in. And if I don't know something, you know, if you're not a good person who takes tests, especially when somebody's watching you, it's probably not the best way to go. But I went through the non-proctored version, or the version that I was open note, nobody was on FaceTime with me. I could pretty much cheat on it if I wanted to. I personally did not cheat. It was open note. I used my notes. When I went through the NASM course, I took notes along the way because I didn't want to just rush through it and not really gain any knowledge from it. So when I took the test, I used my notes, which is a very smart thing to do, is to use your source, because in reality, yeah, sure, smart and retentive people will remember things, you know, very fastly. But there are some people who have trouble remembering things. They need to whip out their own notes, especially when it's in their own words and it can make sense to them. So when I took my test, I felt a little more comfortable. And yes, I did get my certification. And most places are just globally accepting an application, especially if it's from NASM. NASM is a very big corporation that is just globally known as like the #1 source. Not that any of the other organizations are terrible. I'm not a fan of the other ones. I wouldn't recommend going to the other ones. But NASM is more of on the pricey side, but it is, again, one of the big ones that people look at. So when it comes down to actually learning, you can't just, again, be that meathead who lurks in the gym, who gets their information off of YouTube and Instagram, and then just regurgitates it and repeats it to somebody and says, you got to do this, you got to do that. And they say, oh, well, what is this? And I'm like, I don't know. You can't just say, I don't know. If you don't know, this probably isn't the best career for you. Or you could simply just take your time and do some extra education and some extra school for it. But when it comes down to actually knowing about the body, if someone has a question, like, what is this muscle? What are the muscles in my back? What are the muscles in my shoulders? Sure, you don't have to be a doctor and name every last little muscle fiber in your body, but you should at least know how many muscles make up that certain area of your body, let alone training it, and also just straight up giving them right information instead of just yapping and saying something you heard off on Instagram or YouTube. If it's a source that is legitimately backed up, like, you know, a government official source, you know, or you're doing your own research that is backed up with like official evidence versus YouTube or Instagram, then at the same time, it's going to be okay. But again, you actually have to know about the body. NASM touches very, 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 very closely with the body and how things work, and it can get a little confusing, especially when it's talking about like more scientific terms, because when you go through NASM, at least when I went through it, It talked about a lot of stuff that I kind of already knew, except it was being more specific. The metabolic term, I had no idea they were actually called. And again, once you learn that, if you were to tell somebody who probably knows little to nothing about fitness and health and muscles and stuff, it's probably not going to mean jack to them. But at least you know, that means you can dumb it down or put it in layman's terms for them to better understand. And so you can then help people by using your own knowledge instead of just saying, oh, well, I go to the gym, I look big, that's all I need. 5. My 5th reason is the pay is not the best. Most starting positions for a personal trainer are going to start at an hourly wage. I get paid like $13.50 an hour. It does depend on the kind of gym that you're going to, and it does depend on how long you've been working there and the type of job. If you are getting paid hourly, most of the positions that I have seen on Indeed in my area that are paying hourly are based on the time that you were either there or you were training. For a lot of gyms, if you are training somebody, you are going to be getting paid a decent amount of money, but the training sessions don't last a long time. You're usually going to have about 30 minutes to an hour with somebody, and with that hourly pay, that's the amount of money you're going to get, which is why it's a competitive pay and a little bit of a challenging thing to do, because you have to build your clientele to actually earn that X amount of money an hour versus getting paid a base rate amount for just showing up. Now, it would be nice to just show up as the fitness trainer, as the guy or girl who holds the knowledge and just get paid $20 an hour. But unfortunately, a lot of the gyms don't have that kind of budget. Reason number 6 is there is real school that is required. Now, when it comes down to actually getting your certification, yes, you can just go through the whatever organization course you guys have, but you still wouldn't benefit from having, let's say, maybe a 4 or a 2-year degree in anatomy, nursing, kinesiology, physiology, exercise science, all the fun ones. You would definitely benefit from it, but at the end of the day, all you really need is that certification. Now, like I said before, you can take 2 versions of a test. One is like monitored, one is not. Whichever one is better. I don't think the employer will really talk about that. It does just vary between person to person and the employer's knowledge of the said organization. An example I had is the employer who I actually applied for LA Fitness one time, and the interviewer asked me about NASM because he was familiar with it and he was also certified himself from it. He asked if I passed first time, and I said I did because I did, but he was referring to the test that was actually being monitored. I was not, and I was trying to keep that on the down low because that may hurt myself. And again, that falls into the interview of you don't want to hurt yourself, but you want to be honest, but you also don't want to lie or own up to what you've accomplished and own the fact that you don't have a 4-year degree. You don't have any knowledge of anatomy. You just have a certification, and not that the courses aren't bad and they don't teach you anything, but if that's all you have to back you up, you're not necessarily in a bad spot, because experience is what really matters. But what I'm really getting at is if you are somebody who does not like school like me, I do not want to go to school at all. If you are someone who just drops out of school, doesn't want to do school, did not like high school, didn't like any of that, course shit, you are going to be doing that. You will be in a course that is self-paced. You will take a test at the end that can give you certification. 7th and final reason is you are going to be working with all types of people. Most of the clients that I have are double my age, if not even more. 50 to 60 years old who have had surgeries, they got conditions, they're a lot older than me and they have a lot more experience than me. They don't know what to do. They need someone who has, experience in education. They can't do the things that I can do, which is why, if you are that meathead who's obsessed with that cookie cutter stuff, who just wants to be the one and done, make money off of fitness, this isn't for you. You are going to be working with women. You are going to be working with people younger than you. You're going to be working with, different races, different ages. People are going to be saying different things to you. People are going to think different things to you, of you, about you, for you. And it's honestly up to you to have that open mind and say, hey, it doesn't matter who you are, I'm here to help you. Because my mindset is I don't care who you are as long as you want that help and as long as you're willing to accept that help. If you're just going to think that signing up with me and having me as your trainer is going to get you fit, then you have the wrong mindset and I have the wrong client. You're going to be working with all sorts of people. If you are not a fan of that, you can't get around with that. This is not for you. You have to be open-minded. You cannot be antisocial and shy. You have to be ready to open up, get out of your shell. You have to be prepared for some school and some studying. You have to lock the fuck in for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this video was long, and again, it wasn't supposed to be demotivating. It was just to be for, you know, get a sense of what I do, the reason why I love my job, and why maybe somebody else who has a peak interest in it should maybe just take a couple second thoughts before they jump into it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to see more videos like this, leave a comment down below. Subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.